Duke and Duchess of Sussex releasing new photos now from their son's christening on Instagram today. Take a look at this. There's a family photo. Photos showing Archie Harrison at Mountbatten, Windsor in Meghan's arms and surrounded by family, of course, including Meghan's mother, Dora Ragland. Baby Archie was baptized in a private ceremony by the Archbishop of Canterbury in front of close family and friends. Well, I'm now joined by CTV News royal commentator Richard Berthelsen. Richard, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Angie.
And I know you've been following this very, very closely. Not a lot of information, though, Richard, but we now have a family picture, which is great. A lot of questions, though, around the Queen and her not attending the christening today. Why is that?
Well, it is a good question. I mean, I think it is a question of schedules. The Queen has been in Scotland all week this week. It's been a very busy week. She tends to take engagements every single day. She's spending a lot of her weekends, particularly in the summer, with the Duke of Edinburgh, who is largely out at Sandringham House, which is the other side of England from where Windsor is. So she has very, very long-standing travel patterns. And she's very, very reluctant to change them because it really affects a lot of staff, security, all sorts of different things. So they obviously, that is the Sussexes, really wanted this particular date for whatever reason, probably because of the schedules of some of the godparents involved. It is on a Saturday, so she's probably thinking of some of the people who have been selected. And the Queen and the Duke had plans to be in Sandringham. So Archie is surrounded by his grandparents, but not his great-grandparents on this occasion.
And you speaking of godparents, any sense, Richard, on who they might be? I know even in the newsroom, words were swirling around that, could it be Jessica Mulrooney? Could it be, a close nanny?
It could be. I mean, it's very interesting that the decision has been made by the Sussexes not to announce the godparents. It is precedent-setting not to do so. They've chosen a chapel at Windsor where they don't have to publicly disclose. Those records are kept secret. I think it was probably not a very good decision because now they've, got the media out there searching. It will eventually emerge, who the godparents are. I think it's likely to be friends of hers, longstanding friends of hers, perhaps longstanding friends of Prince Harry, maybe even a courtier or two, or someone like a nanny who took care of him, when he was younger. It's going to be people who are extremely close to them. They are making a very, very clear point by the way they've orchestrated this christening that Archie is going to be raised largely out of the public eye. He doesn't have a title. He's not likely to have a title. He's not likely to take a title in the future. And so I think this kind of step makes it very clear to people that this is going to be a young person who is going to have all the choices in the world available to him and will probably not be a working royal, and that's why this was done. Yeah,
and it's also very interesting as they've maintained Richard, that privacy. It was happening, of course, right through the pregnancy, during the birth, and now, of course, during the christening. And, of course, the fans of the royals kind of feeling, I guess, a little bit gypped on all of this.
Well, that's right. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex have been enormously popular members of the royal family. There's a lot of interest around them. There's a lot of precedent-setting aspects to their marriage and their relationship, the speed at which it's moved. Of course, we in Canada have a particular interest in the Duchess because she lived in Toronto for so many years. I mean, they have made it clear, I think, through these actions, not so much in words, but in actions, that they expect this child to grow up privately, out of the public eye as much as possible. I think their media strategy in a few cases tends to have the opposite effect because it creates greater media interest when you sort of are secretive. But the reality of this christening is that it really isn't that different than most other royal christenings. Christenings take place behind closed doors. They're not public events. There's usually photos released after. This is a slightly unusual place for a christening to take place, but I will tell you, it is a bit of a tribute to the Duke of Edinburgh because this is a part of Windsor Castle which was destroyed during the fire in 1992. It was redesigned by the Duke of Edinburgh, that is Prince Harry's great-grandfather, Prince Philip. And so I think he'll be pleased in a way that this ceremony has taken place in this chapel. Most times the christenings take place at much grander circumstances, like St. George's Chapel at Windsor, which is quite public, or in one of the London places, or even at Buckingham Palace. So this is kind of an interesting choice. But again, I think in a way it's a kind of traditional one and a tribute to Prince Philip.
Yeah, well, you know what? There we go. We had another christening. You and I are talking about it as best that we can. Richard, always appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Angie.